The day my wife gave me the watch, I didn't think much of it. It wasn't my birthday, it wasn't our anniversary, and it sure as hell wasn't one of those just because kind of gestures we used to share back when we still left love notes on mirrors and argued about what movie to stream instead of why she was coming home at 2 a.m. No, this was different. It was a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays are my Jim and steamed broccoli day, and nothing screams routine like chicken, spreadsheets, and squats. She walked in wearing a smile I hadn't seen in months, the kind that almost made me forget we hadn't kissed properly in just as long. She set the little box on the counter like it was some sacred offering. For you, she said, brushing a kiss against my cheek. Just because you deserve something nice. I opened it slowly, almost suspiciously, like it might bite. Inside, a sleek, black Omega Seamaster, the kind of watch guys in car commercials wear when they're not busy flying jets or saving lives in the ER. I blinked. Emily, this is expensive. She smiled. You work hard. You've been holding everything together. I just wanted to show you I notice. Now, here's where it gets weird, because it did feel sincere on the surface. But there was something off, something in the way her eyes didn't quite meet mine. Like she was reading a script she didn't write. I nodded, fastened the watch to my wrist, and thanked her. But I knew better than to believe the wrapping paper meant the gift was good. Emily hadn't been the spontaneous type in years. Somewhere between refinancing the house and figuring out what quality time even meant with 2 kids and a mortgage, the sparkle dimmed. And that was okay. I didn't need fireworks. I just needed real. So when real suddenly showed up in the form of a $1,000 timepiece, I got suspicious. Later that night, I lay awake beside her, listening to the soft buzz of her phone on the nightstand. It vibrated once. Then again. She didn't reach for it. I didn't either. But I counted the buzzes. For in total. Funny how numbers start to mean something when your instincts whisper, you're not paranoid. You're just catching up. I stared at the glowing hands of the new watch ticking rhythmically in the dark. A gift meant to mark time, but all I could think about was how much of it had already been stolen from me. The next morning, Emily was already up before me, coffee brewing, hair curled, makeup done. That alone should have triggered an alert. We'd been together long enough for me to know her get-ready patterns like my own reflection. Curling her hair before 8 a.m.? That wasn't for a Zoom call. Early meeting? I asked, pretending not to notice how she jumped slightly when I walked in. Yeah, she replied too quickly. Big pitch. New account. You know how it is. I didn't. Emily worked in sales for a company that specialized in tech hardware, routers, access points, all that lovely alphabet soup most people tune out unless the Wi-Fi goes down. And while she took her job seriously, it didn't usually inspire winged eyeliner and heels sharp enough to draw blood. She sipped her coffee, eyes flicking to the wall clock. I might have to stay late. Don't wait up. There it was again. That script reading tone. Like someone had given her lines and she hadn't rehearsed enough. Sure, I said casually. Want me to pack you something for lunch? She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Already got something. Thanks. Later that day, I took the Omega off my wrist and set it on my desk. It was beautiful, sleek, pristine, and it didn't belong. Just like her new handbag didn't belong. I noticed it in the mudroom that morning, some designer brand I couldn't pronounce, let alone afford. And no, it hadn't been there the day before. I would have remembered. I noticed stuff like that. When your marriage starts to go quiet, your eyes get sharper. I logged into our bank account during lunch, just to see. Nothing unusual. At least, nothing tied to her card. But there was a withdrawal last Friday. $800. ATM, cash. Emily never carried cash. She thought coins were gross and only used paper bills for the occasional farmer's market. So I texted her. Hey, just saw an $800 withdrawal from Friday. That you? No reply. Not for hours. I came home to an empty house. She was still working late. The kids were with my sister, so I did what any trusting husband on the edge of suspicion would do. I checked the garbage. And that's when I found it. The packaging for the purse. Stuffed deep in the recycling bin, torn up like a crime scene cover-up. No tag. No receipt. Just enough left for a search engine to confirm what I already knew. That bag cost $1,100. Which meant it either didn't come from her, or it wasn't meant for me to know about. 2 days later, she invited me to dinner. That should have been a good sign, right? A spark? A chance to reconnect? But instead of warmth, I felt that cold flicker in the back of my neck again. The one that says, brace yourself, it's not what it looks like. We need to talk, she said, her voice light, like she was ordering coffee. Somewhere nice. Let's not do it here. Somewhere nice. Translation, somewhere public. I should have backed out right there. Should have said if it's serious, say it here. But I was tired of guessing games, so I put on a clean shirt and drove us to a place with candles and white napkins folded like origami. She looked incredible. I hated how incredible. As we stepped inside, I felt her tense. That tiny breath in, she didn't mean to take. Then I saw why. He was already at the table. Tall, tan, button-down shirt rolled at the sleeves. The kind of smirk you only earn from years of getting away with things. A stranger to me, but not to her. Logan, Emily said softly, motioning toward the table. This is Chase. You've heard me mention him. Mention? Oh yeah, the mentor, the colleague, the guy who gets her. I forced a smile, sat across from them, and shook the hand I wanted to crush. Chase leaned in with all the confidence of a man who'd been given permission. I'll make this simple, he said. You've got two options, Logan. Leave quietly, or face me like a man. Emily didn't flinch. She smiled. The sound in the room disappeared. No silverware. No music. Just those words. Leave quietly, or face me like a man. That's when it all made sense. The purse. The perfume. The late nights. The watch. That wasn't a gift. It was parting payment. She'd brought me here to watch me lose. To humiliate me. To make it look like I'd bowed out on my own. So I did what any self-respecting man would do. I smiled. You want your teeth whole or in pieces? I asked. Then I stood. Not for a punch. Not for a scream. Just to walk out. Calmly. Straight-backed. With dignity she'd never understand. They thought they'd caught me off guard. But all they did was take off the mask. And beneath it, I was wide awake. I didn't drive home right away. I didn't even get in the car. I walked. 3 blocks down, I found an old bench under a flickering street lamp and just sat there, staring into nothing. My hands were still shaking, not with rage, not even heartbreak. No, it was something quieter. Emptiness, maybe. The kind that sinks into your bones before you realize you're drowning in it. For 12 years, Emily had been my anchor. And now, she was the reason I was floating. Untethered, unrecognizable to myself. You don't realize how much of your identity is tied up in a person until that person turns into a stranger with a familiar smile. I pulled out my phone. Missed calls from my sister. A group chat blowing up with dumb memes. One message from Emily. You didn't have to make a scene. I stared at that line for a long time. I made a scene. I was brought into a dinner trap, publicly humiliated, served betrayal with wine and a lemon wedge, and I was the one being dramatic. It was almost funny. If it wasn't so textbook. When I finally got home, the house felt foreign, like someone had moved everything 2 inches to the left. Her perfume lingered in the hallway, but not just hers. Something else, too. A sharper scent, masculine, expensive, smug. I didn't even bother guessing whose it was. I already knew. I walked into our bedroom. The bed was perfectly made. Tight corners, hospital style. Emily never made the bed like that. She used to say it felt too sterile, like a hotel room pretending to be a home. Now, it was a hotel room, a stage set for someone else. I sat on the edge of the mattress and stared at the floor for what felt like an hour. Eventually, I stood and did something I hadn't done in years. I opened the top drawer of her nightstand. Inside, a few folded notes, old receipts, some mint wrappers, and her backup phone charger. Harmless enough. But one slip of paper caught my eye. A receipt, dated 3 weeks ago. 2 glasses of red, 1 filet mignon, 1 grilled salmon, 2 desserts, room service, Ritz-Carlton, downtown. I didn't need a detective's badge to figure it out. I folded it neatly and slid it into my wallet. Not for revenge. Not yet. Just inventory. Over the next few days, Emily stayed gone. I didn't ask where. She didn't say. We exchanged a few clipped texts about the dog and the mortgage payment, like 2 coworkers managing a shift swap. She still had her clothes in the closet, her mug in the dishwasher, her earrings in the bathroom tray. But she wasn't there. Not really. On day 4, she came by to grab a few things. That's what she said. She wore sunglasses indoors. Classic. I didn't greet her. Didn't ask if she was okay. Just sat on the couch watching the muted TV as she floated through the house like a ghost with a Nordstrom bag. Every drawer she opened, every shoe she packed, each movement was a tiny punch to the gut that I refused to flinch at. Finally, she stopped by the front door and glanced over at me. I'm not the villain, Logan, she said, her voice tired, like I had drained her. I nodded. Of course not. You're just the tourist who burned the village and blamed the match. She blinked. That one landed. Maybe if you'd listened, if you'd been more present. I raised my hand, palm up. Don't. Don't try to drag me into your little redemption arc. You made choices. I'm just living in the wreckage. She shifted awkwardly. I didn't plan for it to happen like this. I'm sure you didn't, I said. But you certainly rehearsed it. She opened the door and left. No goodbye. No apology. Just the sound of heels on pavement fading into the evening. And that's when I decided, if she was rewriting history, I'd write my own ending too. The first thing I did was simple. I cleaned the house. Not a grief clean. Not a desperate attempt to erase her scent from the pillows. No, I cleaned with purpose. I made the bed, swept the floors, polished the counters. Order, precision, control. Then I changed every password she'd ever known. Streaming, banking, Wi-Fi, security cameras. Even the garage code. If she wanted to walk away, she'd walk away from everything. No coasting. No second toothbrush on the sink while she played house with someone else. Next, I booked a consultation with a divorce attorney. Not a grudge move. A strategic one. I wanted facts. What were my options? What could I protect? What was mine to begin with? Any assets you brought into the marriage? The lawyer asked. I nodded. The house, the savings, the investment account. She tapped the keyboard. If you play it right, we can keep most of it in your hands. Good, I said. I'm not here to ruin her. But I'm not financing her affair either. And I meant it. At least, I thought I did. Until I discovered something that changed everything. It started with a notification on our shared Google Drive. I'd forgotten it was even still linked. A new folder. Labeled Photos, Chase smiling face with smiling eyes. Curiosity 1. I clicked. And there they were, dozens of pictures. Hotel selfies. Brunch dates. A weekend trip to Napa, judging by the wine labels and rolling hills. Some with him holding her waist. Some with her wearing clothes I had bought. All of them time-stamped. All of them taken while we were still very much married. Some even during the week my father passed away. While I was in Ohio planning the funeral, she was in a robe sipping mimosas with her colleague. I sat there, staring at the screen, not blinking. That was the moment everything inside me changed. She wasn't just unfaithful. She was calculated. And now? Now it was my turn to calculate. I didn't cry. I didn't scream or punch a wall or sink into a bottle. I just stared at that folder of photos for a long, quiet moment. My fingers hovered over the keyboard like they were waiting for permission to type a response to a conversation I never started. There was a time I'd have confronted her instantly. Demanded explanations. Slammed the laptop shut and driven to wherever she was staying, barking questions and hurling righteous anger like firewood into a blaze. But I wasn't that man anymore. Because that man still thought she could be reasoned with. Instead, I copied every photo, every timestamp, every emoji-laced file name. Then I opened a new document and started writing. It began like a eulogy. To whom it may concern, if you're reading this, it means my marriage ended long before my signature ever hit the page. What follows is not hearsay, not assumption, not speculation. It is truth. Documented, dated, backed up in triplicate. This is not for revenge. It's for clarity. I typed until my fingers hurt. And when I was done, I didn't feel better, but I felt ready. The next day, I met with my divorce attorney again. Her office smelled like fresh toner and quiet vengeance. I placed a flash drive on her desk. I need this documented and timestamped. She plugged it into her laptop and clicked through the folders. After 5 seconds, she stopped and looked up at me. She's bold. Careless, I said. She thought I'd never look. She leaned back in her chair. This changes things. It puts you in a stronger position financially and legally. I'm not trying to destroy her, I said, pausing. But I'm also not walking away like I've been the problem this whole time. My attorney nodded, tapping a pen against her notepad. We can move fast. Quietly. I'll draft the papers and have a courier ready. Do you know where she's staying? I nodded. She's still using my Netflix. I checked the location log. Hotel near the wharf. Savvy, she said with a smirk. Let's use that. That night, I started phase 2. I moved half of our joint savings into a new account. Mine only, protected under my name and backed by every legal angle my attorney could lock in. I canceled her car insurance under the family plan. Transferred the utility bills into her name and scheduled shutoffs. Not out of spite. Just rebalancing. She'd made a decision. I was just moving the pieces accordingly. Then I called a locksmith. Want the old keys back? he asked when he finished. No, I said. She's got a new door now. 2 days later, she showed up without warning. No knock. Just the sound of the front door jiggling and then rattling harder when her key didn't work. I stood in the hallway, waiting. After a beat, she knocked. Hard. Logan, she called. Seriously? Are you kidding me right now? I opened the door just enough to look her in the eye. She was in workout gear, hair pulled back, sunglasses perched on her head like she'd just returned from Pilates and Lattes. Can I help you? I asked, voice even. She blinked. What the hell is going on? I changed the locks. You what? You don't live here anymore, Emily. Remember? You made that pretty clear when you checked into a hotel with your minner. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Just a flash of panic followed by indignation, like I'd broken her heart. Don't do this, she said, lowering her voice. You're being spiteful. No, I said. Spite would have been posting those pictures all over social media. Spite would have been sending them to your boss. This is respectful distance. She stared at me, stunned. I didn't flinch. You'll be served tomorrow, I added. You can keep the Omega. Think of it as a party favor. Her expression twisted. You're throwing away everything we build over? What? Some pictures? I tilted my head. No, Emily. You threw it away. I'm just packing up the rubble. Before she could fire back, I closed the door. She stood there for a few seconds, then walked away. Her perfume still lingered. It was the last time she ever stepped foot in the house. Over the next week, silence took over. Not loneliness, just quiet. And in that quiet, I found myself again. I unpacked boxes I hadn't touched in years. Photos of family trips before things went sideways. My dad's old wristwatch. College notebooks with pages full of half-baked ideas I'd once sworn would change the world. I even found my guitar in the attic, strings a little dull, case dusty, but when I strummed it, the sound rang out like a memory trying to find its way home. By Friday, the paperwork had been filed. The process was in motion. My attorney confirmed she'd signed her half, under protest, but she signed. She was crying, the courier said, as if I needed to know. So was I, just not in the way she'd think. I wasn't mourning her. I was mourning who I used to be with her. And that man? He wasn't coming back. After the papers were filed, I didn't hear from Emily for a while. No texts. No dramatic doorstep speeches. It was blissful in the most unnerving way. But silence from someone like her? That's not a retreat. That's a regroup. So, I started digging. No, not through her phone. I couldn't. She locked me out months ago. But her laptop? She'd left that at the house. Tucked away in her office closet like a forgotten souvenir. Probably thought it didn't matter anymore. She logged out of the obvious stuff, sure. But the downloads folder was a graveyard of carelessness. PDFs, hotel confirmations, bank statements, his bank statements, because apparently Chase had emailed her a shared budgeting plan for their future together. Their future. My financial data. Her fake tan and smile paid for with our money. One document stood out, a shared itinerary for a trip to Italy. Florence, Venice, Rome. Departure date? For weeks from now. I copied everything and sent it to my lawyer with the subject line. Just in case she forgets which passport she used to cheat. 1 week before what would have been our 9th wedding anniversary, I sent her a letter. Not an email. A letter. Real ink. Real weight. Certified delivery. It was short. Surgical. Emily. By now, you've probably settled into whatever version of new life you envision for yourself. That's fine. I don't envy it. But there are things you left behind that you should remember. You didn't just end a marriage. You unraveled a history. And you did it with precision. Which is why I'm doing the same. Attached is the breakdown of your exit package. You'll find it. Educational. Consider this my final signature. Logan. Inside the envelope was her final settlement. Reduced to pennies on the dollar thanks to the documented infidelity. She'd left the marriage early, but legally, she left the benefits behind too. She could keep the Omega. But the house? Mine. The car? Paid off and retitled. Our savings? Divided, sure, but she got the slice without frosting. Her reaction? A text, finally. Wow. Cold. I didn't reply. Not because I had nothing to say, but because I'd already said it with a notarized seal. You know the funny thing about betrayal? It's never limited to just one person. Rats travel in packs. Turns out, Chase wasn't just a personal parasite. He'd been cooking the books at their company too. My buddy Greg, CFO at a sister firm, sent me a message one night. Hey man, Was Emily's guy ever this Chase Donovan? If so, you might want to Google his name. Now. I did. A whistleblower leak had exposed Chase for embezzling nearly $80,000 in vendor kickbacks. Tax fraud. Expense reports built on imaginary clients. Emily had latched herself to a career suicide vest. 3 days later, she was on leave pending investigation. 1 week after that, her LinkedIn quietly vanished. Poetic, really. She traded a stable home for a paper castle. And now the wind was blowing. I wasn't planning revenge. Not actively, anyway. But life has a way of handing you the script if you stay quiet long enough. When the Italy trip got canceled, thanks to Chase's legal entanglements, Emily tried to pivot. She sent me an email, long, breathy, full of nostalgia and poorly disguised regret. I don't expect forgiveness, but I miss the version of us before everything got complicated. I think about that sometimes. I forwarded it to my lawyer. We both had a laugh. Then I replied with 3 sentences. I wish you well. I hope you find whatever it is you thought you were missing. This email has been documented for final settlement records. Please do not contact me again. Block. Done. The next day, I sent flowers. Not to her. To her mother. A simple note. Thank you for the lasagna that one time. It was better than the daughter. Petty? Maybe. But sometimes, closure needs a bow on top. It's been 6 months. The house is quieter now. My mornings start with black coffee and end with books I forgot I owned. I replaced our bed. Sold the couch. Tore out the garden she never watered but insisted we keep. Sometimes I catch myself wondering if it was all real, those early days when she looked at me like I was her center of gravity. And then I remember, it was real. But only for me. She loved the idea of me. The stability. The safety. The reflection she saw when she stood next to me at parties. But mirrors crack. And when they do, they don't break evenly. These days, I keep one in my office. Cracked, just slightly. A reminder. I don't need perfection. Just peace. And finally, after all the lies, the traps, the exits, I have it. Not because I got even, but because I walked away smarter. The best revenge? Was surviving the wreckage. And learning how to build something better from the ashes.